themselves, changing, improving, courses, classes, education. Elena and I, actually, great story about Elena and I. The only reason people went to these places was to improve themselves, okay? I gotta tell you something. Only about 10% of the people that went there flew. They were changing. They were actually making the changes. The other people were hanging around people changing. Just because you're around people changing doesn't mean you are going to change.
You got to do the work.
To change, my brothers and sisters. You got to change. You know, Ryan hangs around me. If I change my clothes, that don't mean he changes his. If everybody in the house changes their clothes, takes a shower, puts some deodorant, it don't mean if Ryan does not change his clothes and take a shower and put on his deodorant, he gonna stink.
Dropping bombs.
To change, you gotta change. It doesn't matter how many people you hang around that are changing. If you hang around everybody just getting rich, getting wealthy, doing great, creating stuff, and you're not gonna change. To change, you got to change. And the only place to get this is at my store.
Come on. Good old Grant.
To change, you got to change.
There we go. That's right. Just like Grant said. Hey guys, if you want to change, you've got to change. So what Grant's really saying, he's saying take responsibility for the change that you want to have done, right? It's not some esoteric, kind of idea or some like phrase to change, you got to change. He's literally saying if you want something to happen, you have to make it happen. So if you're in a position right now, you don't like the condition that your life is in, you have to do something to change the condition, okay? So without further ado, I want to bring it up for Coach Jerry Fetta. I'm going to do some coaching tonight. Come on.
That's my man, Mike Kerrigan. If you guys don't know me, you're tuning in on Facebook. Maybe this is the first time you're watching us. Maybe you're on Instagram, wherever you are. So my name's Jerry, and I own a company called Wealth Dynamics, and we do 4 things. So we help you gain financial knowledge, we help you make more money, we help you keep more of the money you're making, and we help you multiply the money you're keeping. And so every Friday we come to you live with a course, and it's actually a course primarily for my staff and myself. We're trying to train ourselves and improve. Like Grant said, if you don't change, nothing's going to change. Okay? So if you're watching this tonight, maybe you tune in for 5 seconds, maybe you watch the entire thing through, maybe you're a client of ours already, maybe you're considering becoming a client of ours, realize this course isn't for you, this course is for us. And if you're watching, you've got to be watching it for you. Don't be watching it because you're a client trying to get points. Don't be just tuning in because it looks like it's good. Don't just be watching because you like my videos. Like, that's awesome, but the purpose of this course is to create change. So if you leave the course and you're like, man, I'm going to change, that's what we're trying to get there. That's what we're trying to achieve. If you leave the course, though, and you're like, man, the weekend's going to be the same. I'm going to hate my job on Monday. I'm not going to do anything differently. Like, that's not even the reason you're here. That's not the reason we're delivering this content to you, okay? So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to cover how to take your goals and how to turn them into reality, all right? We're going to use the whiteboard here. This is my handy-dandy whiteboard. Is this in the shot?
Can you bring that over?
Let's get this guy in the shot. How's that?
That's good right there.
Cool. So we're going to be talking on the whiteboard. And what I want to go over tonight, tell me which marker looks best, guys. See if our boy Blue shows up. Is that good?
Yes.
Cool. So we're going to be talking about how do you take goals and turn them into reality.
Bring it like 2 feet closer so people can see the thing better.
All right, let's get situated here. Is that better?
That's perfect on Ring Central. How's that look on this
Everything's
one?
good here.
Okay, good.
Nope. Awesome. So we're going to talk about how do you take a goal and how do you turn it into reality. Okay, so I'm a coach. I remember when I first started my business, like sitting down and coaching people. Nano remembers me coaching him. Mike was one of my first. And the first thing that we hear from people, Nano, you know this especially, what's the first thing you hear from people when you go over their 10-year goal and you convert the number that they gave you into the real number?
They're surprised.
They're surprised. They have a specific phrase, though. They're like, oh, that's not realistic.
Correct.
Okay, Mike, was that your reaction at first?
Well, honestly, like, I knew in myself immediately that it wasn't realistic with the position I was in. Like, I knew a change had to be done. I just didn't want to confront that change yet.
Yeah. So, like, what we do, guys, and what I'm talking about is if somebody tells you the answer, And what I mean by the answer is the generic $10,000 a month answer that everyone gives. We'll sit down and we'll coach people and be like, how much do you want to make? They're either going to tell you 10,000, they're going to tell you 20,000, they're going to tell you 100,000. Those are the three answers you will always get, okay? Which is great, right? So $10,000 a month, that's what somebody says they wanted passive income. Okay, what we're telling somebody is that that's not actually enough. Economically speaking, that's not enough money. Like, think about, you guys have made 10 grand before, right? How fast was that gone?
Immediately.
Immediately. And you guys weren't even like living it up yet. You were just like trying to pay the bills. Okay, so someone gets 10,000 a month, and we tell them that you actually need to divide this 10,000 a month by 0.35. Okay, and the reason why is taxes and the 40% rule. Okay, so taxes, we're saying, all right, you have taxes at 25%. You have saving at 40%. That's 65%, which means that this 10 grand really only represents the other 35% of the pie. So what's the math on that real quick? 10,000 divided by 0.35?
3,500.
No,
Nope.
that's times.
Divided by
It might be
28,572.
28,572.
28,572. Nano knows the number. That's how many times people have told Nano 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
28,572
572.
is the actual number you need. Okay, so I want to talk about this number here. Somebody gave you this number. Maybe it was you at one point. I've given that number before. And then we've converted it by using math and logic and saying, really, you need 28,572. Now, they look at the 28,572 and they're like, well, that's not realistic. It's more than they thought. Like, the expectation was different than, it's almost like walking down the stairs and you think there's an extra stair and you step and there's not. It's that feeling. Like the gut just like lurches. But get this. This was never their number either. So when somebody is like burnt out on a goal, they're focused on the number. The number wasn't mine. Like, how do I know Nano really knew what he was talking about? How do I know the math was right? Like, they're looking for the justifications for why the goal could be incorrect because they're not committed to achieving it yet. So that's what's happening here. It's almost like firing a blank. In someone's mind, they're like, that wasn't my number. This was my number. That wasn't my number.
Mm-hmm.
Incorrect estimation of effort. I thought it was this. We're telling you no. Because of life, it's that. Because of taxes, it's that. Because of inflation, it's that. Okay, if we could just have like only gold and silver and no taxes and no inflation, maybe it could be 10 grand. Because your currency wouldn't go down in value. But because your currency goes down in value, that number needs to climb. Okay? So here's the deal. This number is foreign to the individual. Anytime you have a goal that's not real to you, it's because, first of all, it's foreign to you. It's new. It's not yours. By definition, it's not yours. If it was yours, it wouldn't be a goal. You would already have it. Okay? So a goal is foreign to you. That's why it feels unreal. It's like not even, it's like a figment of your imagination almost. But I want you to realize, too, most of the people that gave you this answer, they're not currently doing 10,000 a month. That number is also not real. So why is it that this, in their own mind, is more believable than this?
Are you looking for an answer or just
What do you guys think? Yeah.
Well, to me, that's just what the number that
That one's more believable.
society throws it out there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if you're making 10 grand, I mean, you good.
Yeah. It's like societal norms, right?
Exactly. Or this, this center to go for.
Yeah.
Like if you're making 10 grand a month, like that's the
Yeah.
idea. But
It's like a good pipe dream.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a whole lot.
And that's kind of it. That's the only difference. This was also someone else's answer. At one point, someone said 10 grand, and someone's like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I'll do that too. Now you're saying 10 grand doesn't sound good. You need 28,572. No one's ever told them that before. So there's no emotional attachment to that number. They haven't picked it. They haven't decided it's theirs. They haven't committed to it. So the number one reason why this goal won't happen is because they're not committed to it. Ultimately, every time you have a goal that doesn't come true or a goal that feels unreal, it's because you're not fully committed to it. Okay? Now, this one in reality probably also won't happen. Okay, they're not going to do this. They're probably also not going to do 10 grand. Anyone that's going to push to 10 grand has the same ingredients that got them from 10 grand that can get them to 28 grand. Okay, so the reality is they think that this one will naturally just happen because it's familiar. They've seen it around them before. They've seen other people. It's not unbelievable to think someone made $10,000 a month, but they think that it's going to just kind of creep up and happen for them. That's why they have the goal. They want the goal. They understand the goal is a good thing, but they don't want the work that has to go with that goal to make it actually a reality. Okay, so the first thing you've got to understand is the difference there. They're both made up numbers. They're both someone else's idea, but because this one is more familiar, this is the one that somebody's going to cling to and actually try for. When in reality, this is the one they need. They're not going to try and touch that one at all because it was never their number. And the only thing that's going to make this someone's number is cognition. Realizing, yeah, that was real.
That is real.
Taxes would happen in real life. And you do need to save 40% because we have a graph showing that that's what the top 1% have actually done. Okay, so basically, you've got to have the goal in the first place, right? Without a goal, like there's nothing. So you do have to have a goal. And it probably doesn't even really matter what the goal is initially. You just have to have a goal. Who can remember like the first goal they ever had? Like it was a real goal. Nano, what was yours?
I want to have 10 cheese in the bank.
Cheese in the bank?
10.
10 G's, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 grand. Mike?
Amusement park.
Amusement park? Okay. I remember one of my first goals, I wanted to play in the NBA.
Oh, you're talking about like early goals.
Yeah, any goal.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But
Like,
just
2 years old, 10
No,
grand?
I was like, no.
Nano is always just money.
No, not at all.
Okay, so you have to have a goal, right? And the goal has to be something you're emotionally identifying with. It has to be something you're committed to. And those are all the things that make it a goal, right? I mean, it's something you're focused on. So what happens, though, that causes a goal to suddenly go from clear, like who remembers like the goal when you were a kid? How clear was the amusement park? You could see it, right?
It was vivid.
Nano?
No, I just had a cognition from I'm gonna be a professional swimmer, and I'm gonna, that was the main one, right? There's like I'm gonna win, I'm gonna be captain of the team, I'm gonna make it to regional, state, and you name it, whatever, right? So
Yeah.
those like some of the main ones.
Yeah. So professional swimmer. Okay. So what is it that happens? We have to ask ourselves that takes a goal that was solid, concrete, clear, vivid, and turns it into like this fuzzy thing, where it's like not even really going to happen anymore. In your head, you're like, is it actually real? Should I be doing this? You start going into doubt, right? Obstacles. Okay, obstacles come up. So you had a goal, now you've got a bunch of obstacles. Okay, and really, what is an obstacle when you boil an obstacle down?
It's just something that makes it more difficult for you to achieve your goal.
Something you didn't expect, right?
Yeah.
If you expected it, it wasn't an obstacle. You're like, oh yeah, I knew about that turn. Or, oh yeah, I knew about the length of that pool. Or, oh yeah, I knew you had to have this much money to own a Six Flags. Okay, so if you expect it, it's no longer an obstacle. It's just part of the game. Same thing like with the stair. Like if you expected there not to be a stair, it doesn't get you. It only gets you when you expected there to be another one and there wasn't one. So there's obstacles. The other one here too is other goals. Okay, in Nano's example of becoming a swimmer, at some point you probably had other goals pop up too, huh?
Yeah.
Be a good student, be a good brother, be a good friend, provide, whatever it would be, right? So you have other goals that pop up. Now I want you to realize too, these other goals, these are also goals. So the difference here between these goals and these ones are clear. Provide, right? That one pops right up. Why? Because it's vivid. It's going to happen. It's in short proximity. If you don't provide, the results or consequences right there. There's enough pressure directly in front of that if you don't achieve that goal, it's a worse outcome than if you don't become a professional swimmer or if you don't own an amusement park. Really, like Tomorrow, nothing bad will happen. It will pretty much be the same day-to-day life if Mike doesn't have an amusement park. Versus if Mike doesn't pay rent, very different reality, right? Now it's like, shit, I gotta pay rent. If I don't pay rent, I'm gonna be sleeping in the park tomorrow. Okay, so again, there's a couple things that really differentiate this. One of them is frequency. Who would agree the goals that took over, we were more frequent with? You go to work 40 hours a week, that's frequency. Okay, eventually the swimming stops, the lifting stops, shooting baskets stops. The frequency goes down and the activity instead turns into a frequency on the other goals. Okay, so frequency goes down, that changes. Okay, the other thing that's different about these goals is, again, the consequence tied to them. On this one, this big one, what's really going to happen if you don't achieve it? What's the skin in the game? Potential. But that's invisible, right? So you don't actually see that. We should think that way. For some reason we don't. We think instead of like, all right, well, I can put this one off and I can sacrifice this one because I got to get this done. Imagine if you didn't do that. If you were just like, well, this one is more important even though I can't see it. And if I don't do this one, logically speaking, it won't happen. Therefore, I'll figure rent out later and I'm going to go swim. Or I'm gonna go do my amusement park, or I'm gonna go shoot more baskets. Okay, so the difference in mindset here, you have to ask yourself, what makes you stop focusing on the big goal and instead focus on these smaller goals and on these obstacles instead?
Ask that again.
So you have to ask yourself, what makes you stop focusing on the big goal and instead start focusing on the small goals and the obstacles instead? It's a hard question, right?
Yeah, I mean, I look at that and I see how time and time again, people put the big goals off to the side because they're like, oh, I don't need to worry about that yet. They know about it, they can acknowledge it's there, but they focus on everything in front of them now, and they literally don't like pay any attention to that at all, like zero focus on it.
A few things come to mind. Not knowing the proper estimation of effort, losses, reactive mind.
Yeah. So not knowing the correct estimation of effort, losses, and then just being batshit crazy.
Chris says fear.
Fear, that's another one. That could be the batshit crazy part, right? What is false evidence appearing real?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fear's not a real thing, right? It's just an emotional thing you make up. So really, like, the other thing I want to point out too, a lot of these goals, these also came from other people. Think about it. You weren't the one that had the idea of, I'm going to worry about my car payment. You didn't even know what a car payment was. That was someone else's idea. Okay, you didn't have the worry of, I'm going to provide. Like, you just took care of people, right? You love someone, you're like, I'm going to go hang out with them. I'm going to give them a gift. I'm going to make them a toy. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to cook dinner for them. There was not like a duty or an effort with it called provision. It was just, that was the way you did. Someone else was like, provide, and you're like, I got to do that. Okay? Same thing with money, right? We struggle with money. Like the wealthiest people, they don't even consider money in their transaction. Mm-hmm. Totally different mindset. Like you buy like a piece of real estate, most of us are considered with the money. They're like, all right, we're going to put the money into the real estate. I no longer have the money's gone now. Okay? The wealthy person just says, I want that. Then they flow over to it and get it. They don't worry about, oh, I just left the money. Okay, that's counterintention. That's now two different goals, opposing. Like, what are you teaching your brain if every time you have a goal, you create an opposite goal and make them both right?
Yeah.
Friction. You're going to get, like, burnt out and destroy yourself. You can't be like, I want to buy real estate, but I also don't want to lose the money. And when I do buy the real estate, I'm going to be an instant regret that the money's gone now. Like, which one is it, right? And so this goes to say with goals, a couple things here. You have to choose them. Okay, it has to be a conscious choice. Anytime you're operating with a goal that wasn't really yours, it's like you're driving with a car that's on autopilot and you don't know it. You think you're driving it, and then you start getting upset when it goes in other directions. That's what it was programmed to do the whole time. It was never your vehicle.
That's what happened when I was driving your Beamer. Was like,
The little road thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's scary.
Okay, so you have to choose the goal. You make a choice, you make a decision. Decide means to cut off, which also means when you choose the goal, you have to realize if this is my central, anything out here that's in direct conflict of my goals has to be cut off. When I decide for the goal, I decide against all of the other things. When I decide for the real estate, I decide against the money that it took to buy the real estate. When I decide for like something simple like making calls, when I decide for making referral calls from 12:30 to 1, I'm deciding against any other thing that would happen during that time block. But I can't be like, oh, I got to make my calls during 12:30 to 1. Oh crap, 12:30 to 1, I didn't get emails answered. Like now you're not going to do anything. You're directly competing. You're not going to go anywhere. And even when you make the referral calls, you're somewhere else. Now you're not going to get any referrals. So you've got to figure out, like, all right, what's the goal? I'm choosing it. And then I'm going to identify ahead of time what are all of the other things that conflict with the goal. The things that cannot coexist in the same space. And if this one really is my priority, I'm going to nuke all these other ones. I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to cut them off. And it doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't involve any negative emotion. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that it's like unethical for someone else to have those as goals. It just means that you can't carry those two things. It's just logic, right? Mike?
You were saying you have to basically go through all the other goals that don't, how do you word it? They don't help the main goal?
Yeah, they're in direct conflict.
Okay.
Yeah, and what we're really talking about is alignment. Right? If you're not aligned, you've got to figure out where am I out of alignment? And the reason it's not aligned is either the piece it's hanging from is in the wrong spot or the thing is just entirely out of place. So I've either got to figure out if I'm not aligned, I got to fix my main goal, or the piece is out of place and it's just the piece doesn't fit. I'm going to get rid of the piece. Okay? So you've got to choose and decide to cut off. And this is how I've always done it. Naturally, I don't know why, it just is logical to me, and I've always done it that way. As I started learning and studying more about goals, I realized how correct it was. Because you've got the goal up top, then you've got the purpose, okay, then you've got basically your values, and then you start getting into like the mechanics. These are all your plans, these are all of the ways you're going to achieve the goal, and we measure those finally all the way out with statistics, and we look for a product, right? So a lot of times with life and goals, we entirely forget about this. Instead, we just start making plans. I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to max out my 401k, I'm going to go on a vacation. Yeah, but why? There's like pretend these are not there. Like just pretend these were never considered. Why are you doing any of this stuff?
Somebody else told you to do that?
American dream. They don't have a goal. This person does not have a goal. They're just repeating. It's rhetoric. What everyone else said. What society said. What the middle class said. What politicians said. What commercials advertised to them.
Yep.
They don't have a purpose or a goal. Okay? So when you think about most people in life, they get all cluttered when they finally do get a goal and they start to think about, man, this would be really cool. If I could achieve this, that would be awesome. But they're now caught up and committed to these.
Mm-hmm. Like, I gotta do this first.
And they're not willing to get rid of these things in order to achieve the goal. Getting rid of these things would be too big of a loss.
It's non-survival.
How big of a loss does someone have to take to stop someone who's never achieved anything in the first place?
Say that again.
How big of a loss would a person have to take in order to stop the individual if they've never achieved anything in the first place? And they know about it. It wouldn't have to be a very big loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like something tiny, because they know I've never actually achieved anything. They know they've quit on their goals. They know that they used to want to do certain things that they gave up on. They know that they're not actively pursuing anything great right now. So think about, for them to self-destruct all of the only things that they have to validate their existence. They're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So this goal gets fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier until it finally just goes away. So anytime, and this ties all the way back to the business, right? Who's had an income target? Clear as day, and you're like, damn, fuzzier. It's getting real fuzzy. It's starting to get like you can't even touch it anymore. You start getting resentful of it. Or a sales target, you're like, that's not even real. It could even be a goal you've hit before. It could be a target you've obtained before, and because it hasn't happened in a while, you're like, man, I don't know how I did that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's easy for that to happen, and when that happens, realize it's always because there's other plans. Why is someone not achieving the goal? Because they had other plans. So you have to, again, analyze, what are my plans? What am I focusing on? Where's my attention going right now? Okay, and then when you get it lined up, you have to start from the top down. Okay, and you can't even, and I erased these too fast, you can't even start with stats yet. Why is my income not there? That's a stat. I can't focus on stats if I've got the other plans. Like the stat of income does not match the plan of, taking a vacation. Like that's not going to be the thing, right? Like the stat for a vacation would be different. It would be maybe sunshine or whatever it is you're trying to get out of the vacation. So you got to look at stats later. You have to go all the way back up to the goal. Okay? And it's got to be the big goal, the main goal. Okay, up here at the top, main goal. What's the main goal? Okay, you can call that the North Star, whatever you want to call it, whatever illustration puts it in your mind correctly, but it's the one that aligns everything else. Okay, and then you've got to remind yourself purposes. Why? Okay, why is that my main goal? If I don't know why that's my main goal, that might also just be someone else's goal. So if I don't know my why behind my goal, I'm going to have trouble really committing to that goal. Again, if I'm losing that battle, it's because I'm not committed to the goal. I'm committed to the other stuff instead, which could be plans. Okay, then I go into my values. Okay, values or policies, whatever you want to call them. Okay, this is what makes me up as an individual. Non-negotiable stuff, right? It's what gives you your edge. It makes you unique, and it makes you operate. Who's ever worked somewhere or been in an environment where the policies didn't align with your policies? You almost feel suppressed, right?
Yep. Every day.
You think you think a certain way, they think totally different. You've got certain instincts, those instincts can't come out in the workplace. Who's dated someone like that before? You get to act totally different around them, or you had friends that you'd act totally different around because the way you were wasn't the way they were. Okay, that's how I grew up most of my life, hanging out with friends and people that I, went to church with or school with. Act totally different around them, and then I would go do my thing, which was business and sports and bodybuilding. I can't tell you, when I used to work at the gym in Wasilla, the weight room is way open. Everyone can see you. And when I would bodybuild, I would get freaking weird. I looked like just an angry psychopath. You did not want to come talk to me. And I remember there's people that went to church with us, and I'm like, man, I really hope they don't catch me in the gym. I don't want them to see me looking like I'm about to kill something, and then I've got to go sit next to them at church, and they're thinking about that the entire time. So I would act differently in the weight room. I remember that those workouts were terrible.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't focused on the goal. I was focused on the other people around me. I had considerations. Right? So you've got to identify, what are my values and policies, right? The non-negotiables, the things that I'm not going to change for any reason at all. That's actually what builds you up as an individual and protects you from compromise. Okay, so you have those down, and then finally, these are the things that are stable. Finally, now you can start making plans. Okay, a plan is just a mini goal that leads to the big goal. But most people make plans first, and then the goal is an afterthought.
See that again.
Most people make plans first, and then the goal is an afterthought.
Yeah.
They don't think about, why am I trying to do this, and where is it going to take me, and is that where I want to, and do I agree with that? They just look at like what's right in front of them. They're like, I need to do that, 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 I need to do that. None of it's aligned with anything. It doesn't make any sense. They've never actually done sub-product lists to actually find out, if this was a plan I was trying to accomplish, what are the things I would have to do to achieve that plan? They've never pressed fast forward to figure out, if I keep doing this plan, what's it going to turn into for my life? So instead, they just dwell on their plans. When that one doesn't work, they either justify it or they make it wrong. That's why people get really passionate about tiny things. They either, fully support, like, oh, I really support cars that are made in America. You drive a Chevy, like, you're screwed. Like, people get all, because that was their plan. I'm gonna buy a Chevy. Then they had to make sense of why they did that. That's not a goal. It wasn't attached to anything. There's no product there. Okay, and then finally, once you've got your plans, you can start to write out the ideal scenes and stuff. What's it gonna look like? When we achieve the plan, what should it look like? That one's one of the most powerful for me, because I forget to do that. As you guys can see, I'm not very aesthetic. I don't have a lot of pictures and things around me all the time. So I'll forget what something is supposed to look like, and then I'll be reminded, like, oh yeah, it's supposed to look like this. And then I can speed up and go faster because I'm now reminded of what it should look like. I can identify it better. When I start getting closer, I can be like, yep, that's the picture I saw. If I don't have the picture, all I can do is like feel around, right?
Blind man.
Yeah, like, Mike, can I feel your face? I just look at Mike's face and be like, oh yeah, that's Mike. Okay, so you gotta have your ideal scenes, you gotta know what it's gonna look like, and then finally, you start looking at stats. Measuring the production to actually track whether or not you're making progress and whether or not it's happening. Okay, a lot of times we get stuck on the mechanics, right? We can all think of times where we were focused on stats but no goal.
Yeah.
Or we were focused on plans but no purpose. Or who's ever been the person or met the person, all they can think about is what they stand for, but they're not actually going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
What do they call that? Rebel without a cause? All that is somebody who's focused on their policies without a goal or a purpose. I think this and I think that and I believe this and I'm passionate about that. And it's like, yeah, but you're not doing anything about it. Okay? So anytime your goal is fuzzy, realize these are all the mechanics that go into it, and it doesn't need to be complicated. Ask yourself, what's my goal? Why is that my goal? Am I operating with the right policies if I was trying to achieve that goal? Okay? And then you finally go into, all right, well, what are the things that I would have to do to achieve that goal? And you just bring it back. Simple stuff, right? It doesn't need to be complex. That's probably the biggest thing Lexi and I picked up when we were down in California. We were spending time with Nick. He's the CEO of Hubbard College. And the guy is the most simple guy you'd ever talk to. Nothing he said was complex. And when he would say stuff that was oversimplified, and he saw you spending more time about it, on the thing, he would ask you a stupid, easy question, and then be like, guys, remember, Nick doesn't ask hard questions. It's all super, super simple stuff. Why is someone not achieving their goals? Because they had other plans. How simple is that? It's like, why didn't someone get to their destination? Because they drove somewhere else. Like the logic behind that. So when you're not achieving your goals and stuff, it's easy to like try and like overcomplicate it to make sense of why it's not happening. Realize you just had other plans. You were just pointing it at the wrong thing. You weren't focused on the target. It all goes back to, what's the target? Am I committed to the target? Have I eliminated the target's competition so that I don't have multiple targets conflicting with one another? Do I know why that's my target? Am I aligned with my purposes and values? Do my plans make sense? If I was trying to achieve this target, would the plans that I'm involving myself in right now actually make logical sense in achieving that target? Do I know what it's going to look like when I get there? Am I tracking the stat? Do I know how to make the activity go up? Even stats is something that's super simple, guys. You want the stat to go up, you do more of the thing. We can like get daunted with like conditions formulas, like, oh, I gotta do the emergency condition. Just promote. What is promote? Get on your freaking Instagram and hit the button a whole bunch. Change your operating basis. What does that mean? How were you doing it? This way, we'll do it different. But we get really caught up in like trying to like figure out all of this stuff when we don't even align it back to our goal. Most of the answers that we struggle with, we already knew that. Like if I told you, how do you grow an organization? Nano would naturally figure out, well, I got to go tell a lot of people about it. That's promote. If you were losing, then you'd be like, how do you stop losing? Well, I'm going to stop doing the stuff that I did when I lost. Change your operating basis. Economize. How do I economize? Get rid of stuff that's not working. Stop spending money on things that don't pay you. Don't put time into activities that don't have an ROI. Like, this is all really simple stuff, right? So, and ultimately, here's the deal. Like, this is the craziness that we put ourselves through. And you have to just realize, like, how powerful you are with this whole thing. Okay, so let's say that Jerry sets a goal. Let's say I'm going to lose 20 pounds, right? That's my goal. Okay, I could even do an admin skill. I guess I can figure out my purpose. Why? Maybe I want to feel better. Low on energy, so I know why I'm doing it. All right, well, I want to, why? Feel better. And I can line out all my policies that I'm a healthy individual and that I value health and I value longevity and I value all this stuff. And that's awesome. But then I wanted a donut. Why? Feel better.
This is a different type of feel better.
Okay, well, I mean, I enjoy culinary skills. I like food. Flavors are good. It's only one donut. I know how to do math. I could outwork the donut. Like, I can come up with all these other reasons why the donut's a good idea. But here's the deal. I have conflicting goals now.
Yeah.
Okay, now check this out. I said I wanted to lose 20 pounds. I also said I wanted the donut. Okay, I'm probably creative enough to figure out how to do both of those things, but in the moment, I'm not being strategic.
Yeah. You get emotional.
I'm just gonna like binge eat donuts.
Yep.
And when I get done with the donut, what am I gonna tell myself?
I'll work or whatever.
Okay, I could justify, but what are most people gonna tell themselves?
It's just
Damn it, I screwed up, effed up, I was wrong, messed the whole thing up. Okay, well, like objectively speaking, you successfully ate the donut.
Yeah.
You were not wrong. You said you wanted to do something and then you did it. So what are you doing to your own brain when you succeed at something and then you're like, no, that was wrong? I said I wanted a donut. I used my free will. I used my skill sets to get the donut and eat the donut. But that was wrong. You successfully achieved the goal, but you failed. That's a wrong definition. So what do I start doing now? I start failing with goals. Because I can't even differentiate anymore when I succeeded and when I failed, because I've succeeded at so many things that I said I wanted to do that I wouldn't confront that I said I wanted to do them in the first place. But I succeeded at them, and I knew I shouldn't have, so I changed the story. That was wrong, that was bad, that's a failure. No, you said you wanted to do something, and you did the thing you said you wanted to do successfully, and you achieved it. The moral to the story is, say you want to do different things. Do different things. If I really wanted to lose the 20, I could say that, do it, and win. Instead of just like, all right, well, here's counter-intention, and I'm going to say I want to do this too, then I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to tell myself I lost because I did something. Like, at some point, you finally get so mixed up on the subject that you just don't achieve goals anymore. That's where you get to the stage where you don't even want to set a goal. Like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to deal with the fight. That doesn't make any sense. I don't want to deal with the illogical characteristics of it. I don't want to deal with the losses. I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. Right? And this is like oversimplified with the donut and the weight loss thing, but it could be like, you know, I want to change, like Grant talked about. So I do all the things, like I go to the gym, I spend time with fit people, hire a diet coach, do all the stuff, but I don't actually change. and I prolong it over a period of time. And then it drags on, and I have so many more of these instances during that period of time that it continues to happen. And then it just turns into this giant, like, all right, well, I don't want to play this game anymore because I've been playing it for 5 years and it doesn't work. Then you finally just quit. Donuts were easier.
And then all those things you did to make a change, but you didn't change, you blame those, like, oh, it didn't work.
Yeah, the gym doesn't work. Diets don't work.
Diets don't work.
Just eat donuts. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
That's where Nano's dying. That's where people are at financially, though.
Yeah.
Spend what you want. You don't need to earn any income. Don't work too hard. None of that
Take
stuff.
it with you.
You can't take it with
Favorite.
you. Dude, if we operated on you can't take it with you, you would give me your clothes. You would be naked. I would have your car. You would be homeless. Mike, you can't take it with you. Don't worry.
That's what I'm eating right now.
I'll take it, though. Okay, so this is kind of like the whole mechanic thing that's being broken down with goals. When we start to feel that fuzziness, that's really what we're going through. Okay, and the way that you solve this is, again, you put the main goal back in front, find out why you're going to do it, decide who you are as an individual, and then you just put together a plan. It doesn't even have to be a good plan. It just has to be a plan that logically makes sense and gets you to where you need to go to. You will look back at most of the plans you thought were genius and be like, dude, I was a dumbass. Like, if I looked back at my business plan from 4 years ago, which in the moment I was like, this is a very good business plan. I would look back at it now and I'd be like, sir, you are mentally challenged. You cannot be an executive in my company, sorry. Okay? So you've got to realize, like, you just need to have alignment and do the activity. Like, that's the biggest thing. Do the activity. Like, take this giant, if it's too big, you break it all the way down into the tiniest thing you possibly can and do the thing. And then do the next thing. And then do the next thing. Okay, but think about, like, how many times with goals we're not achieving it, and then we look at the list of ingredients that we would have to achieve, like we talked about subproducts. And if we were trying to achieve it, we would have to be doing all of these things, but we're not even doing those things. We've all been there, right? Like, hey, you know, sales target, right? My sales aren't there, and it's like I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, this isn't happening. But then we go back to, all right, well, I would have to do all of these subproducts. Well, I'm not doing all of these subproducts. That's why I'm not hitting my target. It would be as simple as, all right, well, let's just start doing all of the subproducts. If I start doing all of the subproducts, the result's going to happen. And the proof is in the pudding. If you did write down a goal you were currently achieving, even if it wasn't one that you wanted to, like eating the donut, if you wrote a subproduct for eating donuts, I guarantee you did all of them. If I wrote a subproduct, my income's low, if I wrote a subproduct list for low income, I guarantee I'm hitting all of the components. And I'm in freaking affluence. Like, those are all the things you've got to look at. What am I doing now? I'm successfully doing all those things and it's not giving me the right outcome. That means I'm good. I'm actually able to succeed. I've just got to now succeed at the right subproducts to get the end product. And so the other thing that can happen too that I want to point out, let's say Nano and I were talking about this one, right? One of the subproducts, let's say, could be cold calls.
Oh, yeah.
So we fixate on this one.
Yeah.
I gotta pound the phones. I'm gonna do so many cold calls. And it turns into a static. Like, that's all you do. Buyers went out the window. Training went out the window. Closing went out the window. Sales cycle went out the window. But man, I can do cold calls. It's like the curls guy at the gym.
Yeah.
All he does is curls. It's like, all right, bro, we get it. You can do bicep curls. What about legs? What about abdominals? What about cardio? What about all of the other things that would make you a healthy individual? At some point, though, that guy decided, I don't like leg day. I'm going to skip it. I don't like chest day. I'm going to skip it. He's succeeding. He just forgot his product. When he started, it probably wasn't to have 23-inch biceps and no legs. It was probably like, man, I like working out. It's good for me. It feels good. I want to get big. And then he had counter intentions, losses, and obstacles that popped up. And now he turned into the guy that blew his bicep up.
Yeah, has a big
And has a big belly. Okay, so I know this is a lot of different stuff we hit. What questions do you guys have?
I'm just having cognitions here left and right.
Yeah,
Like the donut one.
the donut one?
That made sense to me.
Yeah.
Like the one that you just mentioned right now about the individual being fully healthy and not being fixated with one thing, because I've noticed how I've done that when it comes like the breakdown of the days, like Ali comes like, I gotta do the call, and I'm like, or if I want to be a healthy individual, like I need to address this, even if it's for 20 more for whatever.
Yeah,
You know, and which is something that I just had a cognition right now.
that's awesome. And another thing too is, you know, even if you don't have all of the time, right, all of the time, 10 minutes of this, let's say it's lead generation, is better than none.
Correct.
That's the all or nothing myth. I was supposed to do it for an hour, whatever came up, I don't have enough time now, I'm not going to do it at all. 10 minutes is better than 0. Oh, I was late for the gym, I'm just not going to go. Bro, you really telling me, like, 0 is better than 20 minutes? It's going to add up. Like, it's the power of consistency. 10 minutes of lead gen, you do that 7 days a week, that's 70 minutes of lead generation. How many leads would you have in 70 minutes of lead generation versus how many leads would you have in 0 minutes of lead generation? Duh. Like, it's pretty, like, easy to figure out. I'm going to do 70 minutes, I'll get something. If I do 0, the answer is automatically 0. But we have the all or nothing mindset on that. Like, all right, well, I didn't get it done, so I just can't do it now. It's just crazy, right? So you go back, again, just go back to the product. What am I trying to have? Okay, well, if I'm trying to have that, I would need some leads, so I'm going to figure out how do I get the leads in. Even if I had back-to-back appointments, could I fit in 5 minutes on the toilet of lead generation?
Yes.
Instead of Instagram. Or freaking do it on Instagram. Then you could do both. That's the donut in the workout thing. You could do Instagram and leads. They're just going to be terrible leads, huh, Nano? Okay, so the reason I share that is we all go through those ups and downs. You're going to have seasons where you're super clear on your goals and firm. And you're like, man, I understand what I need to do. And then you're going to have other seasons where you're like, man, right now, I don't feel like I'm achieving anything. Like, I'm not hitting targets, and I used to hit the targets. That's the worst one. I used to hit the targets. Now I'm not, and I don't know how to do it again. You got to look at this stuff. What are my plans? What are my purposes? What are my actual goals right now? Am I doing the sub-products? Okay, am I even measuring stuff? If I was measuring stuff, I would be able to see numerically at least, all right, well, am I doing the right quantities of actions to get there? Okay, so, I mean, really, that's what I wanted to hit with you guys tonight. And this is all, like, very simple stuff. We're not like, teaching you to, like, try and do mind tricks or any of that. It's just, like, in the physical universe, do the right actions at the right times. And I'm going to hit this really quick, too. I don't know if I totally shared this. I think I emailed you guys about it. But this kind of adds into it as well. So basically, time, place, form, and event. There's a quote in the ethics book that says, stupidity is the unknownness of consideration. So stupidity is not knowing you're thinking. Like, that's, I don't think you can get more stupid than not knowing you're thinking, right? And it talks about consideration is time, place, form, event. To actually know something, I've got to know the time of the thing, I've got to know the location of the thing, I've got to know the form of the thing and the event itself, right? So let's go back to, like, one of our major targets here is income. Right? So if I'm trying to as is in an income goal, what's one of our income goals in here? Mike, what's your income goal?
4.2 million.
4.2. So if I'm trying to as is 4.2, which means by definition I got the 4.2, right? The as is like I fully 100% duplicated the goal. It doesn't mean I got close. It doesn't mean I missed it. It means I literally had $4.2 million, right? In order to make that real and duplicate it, I would need to duplicate the time. That would have to be the first thing. Do I actually have the time in my schedule where the 4.2 is going to happen? Okay, time being like a day-to-day schedule, but also timeline. Do I have the right timeline? Is it 2 years out? Is it 5 years out? I would have to as is the time and the timeline. The timeline is going to dictate the time. Longer time horizon, that means I can lay back a little bit. I've got 15 years to get it done. I can stretch it out a little more. Versus if I'm telling myself, well, I want to do it in 24 months. 24 months, do you know how much time you've got to compress? That is the only thing I'll be doing for 24 months. So if I'm not as-ising that, then I'm telling myself a story that's not real. 4.2 million, all right, well, if I'm doing that in 24 months, divide that by 24, that's how many dollars I need per month in order to make the 4.2 million happen. Okay, so you've got to as-is the time. And that does end up showing up like on your battle plan, daily schedule, right? Am I putting in the time? The other thing is the place. Where is it going to happen? Where is it going to happen, and am I actually going to that place? 4.2 million is going to happen in certain places. It's not going to happen in other places. Okay, it's not going to happen at my house. It's not going to happen at the movies. It's not going to happen sleeping. Like, it's going to happen only in very specific places. Office, on appointments, out in the community, promoting, attending events, right? So that's the place. If I don't as-is the place, it's not going to happen. The other one is form. Okay? Form. We've all played sports. You know, in soccer, there's certain form you've got to have to be a good athlete, right?
Correct.
Same thing with swimming. That swimming is probably one of the most important, make or break. Okay, if your form is off, you will suck as a swimmer, you're going to be exhausted. Okay? So if I don't have the right form with my goal, meaning I'm not doing it right, the mechanics are off, my 3 A's are off, attitude, approach, and activity, if I don't have the right form, in addition to the time and the place, the goal is not going to happen. Okay, form is really a subproducts. Is my subproduct list in place? Do I have it organized correctly? Right? Especially if I've got a short time horizon, I have to be super organized. You guys have heard of like Bruce Lee when he would like punch a board like 10 feet or 10 centimeters away from his hand or whatever and break the board? Mm-hmm. That's form. He's got to have everything aligned so that when he punches, it's maximal force. Because he doesn't have a lot of time. Again, time is just the measurement of distance. So he doesn't have a lot of time. He doesn't have 5 feet to wind up. He's got a centimeter. So his form really matters. So if I'm trying to make the goal happen in a tight spot, then the organization behind the goal has to be in place. Okay, and then the last one is the event. Okay, this is the doingness. I'm actually doing the event to achieve the goal. Am I actually doing calls? Am I doing appointments? Am I closing? Am I training? Like all the things I would have to do in order to achieve that goal, are they actually happening?
What would be the form?
So the form would be the mechanics of how. Organizing like the subproduct list. Okay, and so what you can do on this too, this acts as a filter. This was a cognition I had down at LA. This acts as a filter. If you're not seeing the goal, by definition, one or multiples of these are off. There's not another answer. If I'm not duplicating the goal, I'm not duplicating the time required for the goal, I'm not duplicating the place required for the goal, I'm not duplicating the form required for the goal, and I'm not duplicating the event required for the goal.
Did I already see which one from you spotted that was missing? Which was the time?
Super simple, right? Time. Like time, now you fix it. You're like, all right, well, is it timeline? Is it activities? Is it my schedule? What do I fix here? And you don't have to be blind. Like, you just, like, figure it out. Like, again, consideration.
You got the front.
And unknownness of consideration. I didn't even know. I didn't even know what I didn't know. That's stupidity. To have a goal like that, like, imagine what you do if you hit that goal. Then I hit the goal, you gotta be like, dude, that's freaking stupid. So what am I missing here? And then I start figuring this out, and it's simple. Oh, I need to fix my time. Or I'm at the wrong place. The people aren't there. Or it's form. My approach is off. Or it's event. I'm just not putting in the activity level. So what questions do we have, guys?
No particular question, just cognitions for me.
makes sense.
Well, you said the event is the doingness and the form is the how.
Mm-hmm.
And you use the 3 A's: attitude,
Approach. Yeah.
activity.
So form is like approach, event is like activity.
Okay. That's what the be do have.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to be do have. And one thing Lexi said too on the be do have was that when you actually do the be do have, you do it backwards.
Yeah. So
You
it's
don't do be
happening.
first and then you do it. Like, it's not like, oh, I need to meditate and be the right person and then I can do the right activities and finally have the thing.
Yeah.
It's, all right, I want to have that. What do we need to do to have that? And then when I do, naturally as a byproduct of doing, I'll be. That's why we don't do think and grow rich. It's not think and grow rich. It's do.
Be and be.
Do and then grow rich and then you can afford to think right.
Yeah. That's what, like, I mean, you take, like, fitness, like you said earlier, if someone wants to lose 20 pounds, and they're like, oh man, I want to have a 6-pack and be ripped, but in their mind, they're still that fat kid
Yeah,
the entire time.
yeah,
And they could be ripped and still be the fat kid.
yeah. It's the doing that builds character.
Chris wants to know, can form be how you look and attitude as well?
Can form be how you look?
And attitude as well?
I mean, attitude, I would say attitude would be like all-encompassing. Like, attitude is what would even allow somebody to look and say, I'm not achieving the goal, therefore I need to go fix these. So I would say attitude, like, encases the entire thing. Any other questions, guys?
So basically, if the goal is shady or fuzzy, one of those 4 are out.
Yeah,
We don't know it.
yeah. Because it's not as isn't. Like, you think about as is, like, freaking the eraser is the eraser. There's no fuzziness there. Because it's time, place, form, and event.
Ooh.
As soon as it starts getting fuzzy, it's no longer time, place, form, and event.
Say that again.
The eraser is the eraser. Like, there's no fuzziness there because the eraser right now is time, place, form, and event. It is what it is.
If it becomes fuzzy, it's just something else.
If it becomes fuzzy, you're losing, time, place, form, or event.
It's like the Avengers. Everybody just disappeared.
Is that the new Avengers?
Oh, I gave away the spoiler.
I haven't seen it in other movies. So.
Think about though, if I lose track of time
Mm-hmm.
and the eraser is no longer an eraser, it's a thought of an eraser that I saw an hour ago and now I can't quite remember what it was,
You remember bits and pieces of it.
you can't pick up the whole thing now.
Yeah.
Now it's fuzzy.
Wow.
Okay, same thing with place. If I misplace the eraser, guarantee the eraser's fuzzy. Okay, same thing with form. If I don't know how to use the eraser and someone's like, Mike, where's that eraser? He's not going to be able to picture the eraser. He was brushing his teeth with it. Like, now if they said, Mike, where's the toothbrush? He'll be like, oh, it's in the cup. But that's form, right? And then finally the event. Like, if you didn't have the event down. So as soon as you start seeing fuzzy, like, now you got to realize, all right, well, which part am I not confronting and actually seeing the way it was or duplicating the way it needs to be? With the eraser. Same thing with your income, though. Any other questions, guys? Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up. On the Facebook Live, guys, if you're watching on Facebook, Nano's going to paste a link in the comments real quick. Okay, so we have a program called Wealth Dynamics University, and I've got it copied already, Nano. I just hit the paste, and it should drop in there. We've got a program called Wealth Dynamics University. I'm a Grant Cardone certified coach and licensee, so we partnered with Grant on a program that's going to help you identify the time, place, form, and events you need to put in order to achieve your income goals. We have 10 slots left on the program. We're going to be running some updates on it here soon. So we will not be adding new members for a little while after we sell out these next 10 slots. So if you're watching this right now and you're like, hey, this made sense tonight, I want to improve, I want to grow my income, I want to have training, I want to put in the time, I want to do all the right stuff, I want you to click on the link for Wealth Dynamics University. There's 2 different versions there. So if you're watching and interested, there's a version that's just training. It's $149 a month, no commitments, no contracts. There's also a version that involves a very in-depth coaching program that's $395 a month. That is a 2-year commitment if you sign up on that one. That one will take you to the next level. It's a bigger commitment because of that. So check the link out. Again, there's 10 of these left. Once they're gone, they're gone. Make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you also like, share, and subscribe. Nano?
Yeah, is it the link wasn't here, so should I type it in? WealthDynamX.com? Just type it.
It's WDXU. Can you exit out of the live real quick?
We can always type it after.
We'll drop it in
Put
the
all
comments after.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Awesome.
All right, guys.